Aj tebe vole i cure iz cura ne zakukunješće, aj koja cura ne zakukunješće, aj ne može se udati u ješće, aj ne može se udati u ješće.
Majka čerku nagovara da se uda za ribara, jako ima mokre gaće, on zaradi za bogaće. Ribar čeri tu ne lovi, kupit će ti kaput novi, kupit će ti novu karu, slušaj mene majku staru. Ali majko, to me ruči ribar nije, nikak kući pa tako ću mila mama, u posteli stava sama. Slušaj čeri rano ljuta, riba ljubi bezbroj puta, s njim ćeš čeri slatko spavat, on će tebi supresavat, kupit će ti voz mašinu, što će sama pijate prati, jednu malu mandolinu, s kojom će se ti igrati. Neka pođu, majko draga, oženiti njega mala, oda koliko tamo dole, Karmelita njega vole, ona s njime pije puši, dok majko pije puši, ona jede čudradu, oko note ribana. Daleko na otoku Mali, u divnoj Dalmaciji, na Jadranu plavim, rodio se ribar po imenu Mate, pjevamo pjesmu, kada braćo znate. Mate, dragi Mate, kako naši tebe brate. Mate je bio godinu star, imao je brke i pušio je cigar, Bio e iunat, bio e iat, on eu dalmații, nu si eu variat. Mate, capi mate, voi pripiniate. Κρέπαλα μου η κόζα, κρέπα μου η τοβάρ, όχι επίο, στόχο την αστάρ. Όταν γιομάτε, τα βούτε μορνάρ, τα στάρα την παρέ, τα κουπικάρ. Μάτε, κράκης μάτε, σαν να σε ρησιές να ζάτε.
Pajaritos a bailar cuando acabas de nacer, tu colita has de mover. Para un pajarito ser, es de bailar y a todo el mundo alegrar. El piquito es de mover y las plumas sacudir, la colita remover. Las rodillas doblarás, dos saltitos tú darás y volarás. Es día de fiesta, baila sin parar. Vamos a volar tú y yo, cruzando el cielo azul y el ancho mar. Pajaritos a bailar, el más joven saltará, el mayor se moverá. No hemos terminado aún, bailaremos sin parar, hasta la noche acabar. El piquito es de mover y las plumas sacudir, la colita remover. Las rodillas doblarás, dos saltitos tú darás y volarás. Es día de fiesta, baila sin parar. Vamos a volar tú y yo, cruzando el cielo azul y el ancho mar.
Hi, everybody. So I want to welcome you to Café Aman's tribute to John Filcich. I want to thank Lori Allen for that great opening sequence and Billy Burke for the great collection of John's favorite tunes. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mady.
It's so wonderful to be here. I can't even believe that this is happening. Welcome everyone on behalf of Café Aman and the L.I.F.E Balkan Dancers. We're gathered here to honor John Filcich and celebrate one of the most well-known and beloved celebrities in the folk dance world, worldwide. And he happens to be our most enthusiastic Café Aman member for the past 18 years. He has a link to everyone here today and to many more people who didn't make it, but they may see the program on Facebook afterward. Each and every person we asked to speak said yes without hesitation. What a joy for me. All of us have memories, stories, and good wishes for John. But before we begin, Ian and I want to thank Sherry and Lori for their technical expertise tonight for making this happen. For Billy, our MC, who will be running tonight's program. We owe much gratitude for Marge Gaitsky, whose idea this was. She has worked day and night to see this happen. And our steering committee, who gives me support and gives great opinion. Joan Hantman, Asako Oshiro, Marty Kennerly, Paul Sheldon, Lori Allen, Sherry Cochran. And of course, I want to thank John for all the decades of music, without which probably we wouldn't be folk dancing. I will now pass the Zoom genie to our special MC, Billy Burke.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope I'm being heard. It's my delight to introduce John. I've known John, believe it or not, for 60 years. I first met him at a weekend experiment in Mendocino that turned eventually into the Mendocino Folklore Camp by Madeline Green. On my part, just a couple of very quick little stories. If you know John well, you know he has a certain reputation for being somewhat frugal. Just a bit. When I met John at the Saturday of the event, there was an auction. And in that auction, where they were auctioning off two little African statues, wooden statues. Well, he and Cecile Benrath, a prominent folk dance person in the Bay Area, were in a bidding war. And now, mind you, I was 12, and it was 1962. They got up to $25 a piece. I was astonished. That's all the money in the world. I couldn't believe it. And John outbid her. And John got the statues. And John walked over and handed them to her. I have kept that picture in my mind for all these years. The attribute that John, for which we can all be grateful, is that if you were a dance teacher and you needed something put onto a record and you were his friend and he respected your expertise, he would do anything for you. Among which Madeline Green brought a dance in called Dance of the Aborigines. Well, the smallest amount you can print for 45 is 300 recordings, 300 discs. He has 298 of them left. I know, I've seen the box. But he did for many, many people. He says, if you had a recording that you needed pressed, John would do it. That's just my two little things. I have many, many stories I could tell. One thing, I see a lot of people that have signed in that didn't sign up for stories or whatever. One project that I would really like to undertake is a compilation of anecdotes and pictures and recordings and things about John, for which John was responsible. I would like to produce that eventually into a DVD. So if anybody would like to submit something to me or a story that they didn't get in today, and we're going to not go very long, not all night long, we hope, please send it to me. My email is wburke.dance@gmail.com, wburke.dance. Send me anything you'd like, and I'll just compile it all, and at some point, make something out of it. So, going on, I think the most appropriate person to go to first is family. So I'd like to introduce Sharon Nyberg, a niece, and if she unmutes herself, she's on. I got your ear.
There we are. Hi, Billy. Nice to see you. Thank you for being our MC tonight. And it's so nice to see all these people. This is just amazing. I'm here. Hi, Uncle John. John's my uncle, Amp, obviously. And I'm here wearing two hats. One is family, and the other is Colo Festival. So on behalf of the Colo Festival committee and board, thank you so much for everything you've done for Kolo Festival over the years. 68 years, unbroken, every year until this year. That is amazing, totally amazing. And I have two stories as well. First one was Kolo Festival back when I was about 3, 4. Was at Russian Hall in San Francisco. And Saturday night, they always did Soyanchita Kolo. And the order was the person who had been there the longest down to the person who had not been there the longest. Well, I was 3, 4. I didn't understand that. I wanted to dance next to my Uncle John. So I weaseled my way in between Uncle John and Edith Cuthbert, another longtime folk dancer. And I was so proud. That was my Uncle John, nobody else's. And so, that was one memory that I always had. The other one was my parents had a house on the corner. So Uncle John would pull his VW bus up to the front, load my twin sister and I into the bus. We were about 3, 4. And then he would go backwards around this intersection over and over and over again. And my mom would throw a fit. Oh, be careful, those are the kids. And this was late 50s. They didn't have seatbelts, I don't think. And my dad would just throw up his arms and laugh and say, that's Uncle John being Uncle John. So there's my two stories. I'll throw it back to Billy and let you move on to the next person.
All right, thank you, Sharon. And our next person is indeed Elsie Dunnan.
I'm next. You hear me? Yes. Wait, with my session, I wanted a conversation with him, but because I think the two of us may be the oldest, looking at the list of people who will be speaking, I think John and I have had the longest relationship, and this goes back to 1948.
Wow.
And all day today, I was looking for the program where we met, and I couldn't find it. And I wanted to ask him if he still has that program and to bring up exactly where it was. It was in Northern California, 1948, at a Yugoslav Croatian event where I was performing with the Crlenica Tamburica Orchestra playing for the dances I was performing. And John happened to be with other dancers at that event. And he remembers me, and he keeps passing on this story. I have a program, but I can't find it. So I was wondering if he still had it and if he could send a copy to me. So that starts in 1948. And I think that was in Cupertino or Watsonville. I don't remember, but the information is on the program. John, you're very special to me because you helped me get started in ways that into research and knowledge in my life that no one else could have done. After you moved down to Los Angeles in the 1960s, you took me to the Machvaya, the Gypsy Slavas, and events and weddings, funerals. And this was the beginning of my comparative research with the Gypsies in Yugoslavia. And I thank you for that. That's really a special offering that was unexpected. And the other area that you really helped me with, and this is after I retired, and I moved to Arizona and attended the Yaqui Easter events. And that became a special research interest to me, because the Yaquis in their Easter ceremonies carry two swords, a long and a short. And I was curious how that related to the long and the short swords of the sword dances on the island of Korčula. So I began digging, researching, and then realized, and somehow perhaps you reminded me, you had spent time in Arizona in the 40s before moving to California. And you took pictures of the Yaqui and their Easter ceremony and wrote about it, and so that you had valuable information that no one else had. So I thank you, John, for that material that ended up being extremely important to my own research. And then now you've moved to Northern California. I'm in Arizona, and at least once a year I go to Los Angeles and visit with you, and you're not going to be there. So I was wondering if you ever visit Los Angeles, and perhaps we can still connect, because we always had wonderful talk sessions. So thank you, John, and Shirley.
Shirley.
All right, you
That was it.
Oh, you go.
Thank you, Elsie.
Okay.
And now for our next speaker is Paul Collins. I think still Chicago.
Still Chicago, Billy. How are you?
Okay.
Nice to see you. Okay. Jivili, John Jivili, everybody. I have two short stories. The first one is I met John back in the 1960s, and since there was no email in those days, it was by telephone and reputation and by letters. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I was a young entrepreneur in the sense that I sold records in Chicago. I got my start selling records working for VH Andy Anderson, and Filcich will remember Andy. Andy sold square dance and folk dance records and in Chicago, and I worked for Andy and spent most of my salary buying records of all kinds there. And the interesting story was the year of the Red Album, when Yves Moreau brought a ton of BHA 734 to Stockton to sell to participants. Yves walked into the festival folk shop, and I was standing there talking with John. Yves had like 1 or 2 luggage carts filled with boxes of these BHA 734s, and he walked up to John, and John was busy putting stamps on records. If you know those 45s, the blank ones that had either express or special labels on them, and he would like stamp the name of the dance on it. And he was doing this, and Yves walked up, and John looked up at him and said, "Yves, how do you spell Dos Patsko?" And Yves suddenly was like, he didn't know what to say, because here he is with all these copies of Dos Patsko to sell, and he's thinking, John has taken Dos Patsko and put it on a 45. And then suddenly, I think Yves kind of recognized that John broke into a smile, and Yves realized that John had been pulling his leg on there. But that was, that's my other story there. About the first one, about selling records. I don't know, I think I might have been one of the only, or one of the few people who had a good relationship with both John Filcich, Ken Spear, and Michael Herman for reselling records, because they were very hard to get along with individually, but I loved them all. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, and now we have, I know it's fairly early in the program, but we have a 1.5-minute break. Jerry Gursovich recorded a Malo Colo for this event. It's 1.5 minutes, so if you need a quick break for some reason, or stay and enjoy one of the absolute premier gifts to the world of tamboriza, the best player. I took 2 of my big rock balalaika I play on the band here to Tamboriza Festival, and they just followed around like adoring puppies. They were amazed by this man. So here we have a gift from Jerry from back east, Malo Colo. no, and in case anybody's wondering, people weren't off. That's one of the reasons we don't play music, you know, across with other people on Zoom because of the latency. So they were on the music as they heard it. All right, our next speaker is Paul Sheldon from up north on the West Coast. Paul, you want to unmute, please? Gotcha.
Greetings from Ashland, Oregon. I think it was 1964 or 1965 that my sister and I went to Festival Records in Los Angeles near the Greek Church to buy this Doumbek. And about that same time, Michael Tejada Flores recruited us, actually recruited me for Sobrania, where we danced Hectorka. John was the source of music for everything, and I particularly loved the little singles and the LPs that he brought out on the XOPO label. I was 14 and I didn't know that XOPO was pronounced Horo. We used to call it Sopo. And then we got in lots of trouble because the Folk Dance Underground stole a bunch of John's songs and put them on LPs for $2. And at the time, John, I have to apologize. We slandered you because you were a money-grubbing capitalist and you charged $4 for an LP record. It was absolutely outrageous. But we went to your shop anyway. We bought lots of records. We bought Eve's records. We bought Athanas's records. We bought Greek records. I used to play the Hatsapiko from Odromos, the roadway, every Saturday at the intersection. And it's just so great that you're being honored today by Billy Burke, by all my old friends, Mady and Ian and Frank Trippey. Tom Bozigian is here. It was 1969 when Tom Bozigian and Elsie Dunnan were teaching at Santa Barbara Folk Dance Camp, and John was there selling records. And I remember discussing the Boz Oak label. It was Tom Bozigian and Bora Oskuk, and they had the Boz Oak label, and we didn't know if it was John's label or Tom's label or where that record came from, but boy, I bought all those records too. And it's so great to see Myman and Anthony and Elsie and Dick and Paul Collins hide in Chicago. Paul, I promise we'll get together next time I'm there. And Susie Shapiro and Asako. It's just wonderful that everyone has come together to honor you, John. You're well worth the honor. So, Jivali, and thanks for many years of dancing and fun.
Thank you, Paul. All right, then now we have Valerie Daly from near my neck of the woods now.
I have a very short story. I was with my kids who were little then at the Scandinavian Festival at Cal Lutheran. And I hadn't been able to find folk dance again since early college. And I was just dying to find it. I looked everywhere. I'd go at college campuses looking for, of course it didn't happen in those years the same way. Anyway, I'm at the Scandinavian Festival, and I see this guy behind all this music, and I thought, if there's a chance at the Scandinavian Festival, this guy might know something. And I went up and I said, "Do you have any folk dance music?"
Sure.
I got quite the reaction. Anyway, the last few years I've felt so close to John when we found out that we share the same birthday. And we were planning to have another birthday party this year. And of course, the pandemic got in the way. But next year, I'm going up north and we'll have our party. Happy birthday. Belated happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday, John. Carol Smith.
Thank you.
So we'll go to Nancy Atwood.
Thank you. Even though I know John from dancing, my story has nothing to do with dancing. I live in Tacoma now. I lived in LA my whole life up until 3 years ago. And my son and his wife moved up here in 2008. And after that, I was making frequent trips up and down the coast on the train, best way to travel. And one time I was coming home from Tacoma back to LA, and we had our Portland stop, and I came back to the train. And there was a gentleman standing with his back to me. He was a little bit blocking my way for me to get back on the coach. And I said, excuse me. And I walked past and my radar went off. And I turned around and it was John Filcich. And I just squealed, Ivan, I can't believe you're here. Of course, he was just as surprised to see me. And it turns out we had been on the same coach, but he was downstairs and I was upstairs. So that turned out to be the best trip, well, the best train trip for sure of my life. And I've been tens of thousands of miles on the train. And I'll never beat that one. First thing I did was call Sandy. Guess who I'm sitting next to on the train? She got it in a second guess. And then I took a selfie of us and put it on Facebook. And we spent the rest of the time together. It's a 36-hour trip, and I guess we were 6 hours into it, something like that. And it was so fun. There was no music to say, oh, stop, I gotta do this. Stop talking, I have to go do this dance. We just talked the whole time. And mostly he talked because he told me so many wonderful life stories and about cultures. He knows so much in languages and, you know, how much he knows. And I just absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it all the way down to LA. It was so fun. And a few months later, I was at a Veslo board meeting and we were planning some event. And I said, well, I won't be able to be at that because I'll be going up to Tacoma. And Marge said, are you taking John with you? So thank you for the trip of my life, John. I love you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Anthony Ivancic.
Well, John has always been a great source for me of finding out. And if I needed to find out something about a particular dance, especially from the Balkans, he would be the one I would always go to. And I'm pleased, actually, that he is continuing his explorations of going up to northern, to me, very far north in California. And I wish him the best of luck in his new endeavor up there.
And now we have, and my apologies to Lori and Sherry, I think I flipped the order of what we were doing here, because now we're going to have Malo Colo danced at the Laguna Festival. So this is a short break. For anybody that needs a little break, we have your instrumental and video interlude. Malo Colo at Laguna Festival.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm doing a little job.
come on. And if you'd like to communicate, there's a chat button on the bottom. Got a wonderful message from somebody I taught many, many years ago in Seattle. Hello. Still dancing, I hope. Mark Angel got in and came on and said he'd like to say something.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Well, my story kind of starts and ends in Arcata, actually. My last year of college, I was up in Humboldt State, and my folk dance teacher, Kay Shafee, was such an incredible influence on my life, and used to talk about Colo Festival. She used to tell me, or tell the class, that the whole building would shake, and it was quite a party. So when I moved to the Bay Area the following year, I went to Colo Festival for the first time, and it was incredible. I have been folk dancing ever since, and I have enjoyed the experience. It has become a real important part of my life. And I'm glad that John ended up in Arcata, because it is such a wonderful place. There's a beautiful community there. I also wanted to confess that after moving to the Bay Area, my first place that I danced was the Mandala. And I bought albums from Neil Sandler, and one of the albums I bought was XOPO. So Paul, I'm with you. For many decades, I pronounced it Zopo. So I finally learned properly how to pronounce it. Thank you.
Okay, and if I get back on my schedule, I'm looking for John Rand. Ah, gotcha, unmute.
Hi, I didn't know I was going to be speaking at all.
Yeah.
I just came here to honor John. And I moved to Los Angeles in 1977. I live in Portland now. And I heard about this guy at Festival Records selling all the records I've been dancing to for years. And I was impressed. It was this very gentlemanly guy who could really dance. Anyway, I wish John all the luck in the world, and I'm very pleased to be here to honor him.
Great. And we have a toast from Dick Oakes.
I just wanted to tell Ivan that this is Dick Oakes, and in addition to Sretan Put, I just wanted to ask, Vodite li svoje zapise sa sobom? Sorry, sobom. I want to thank you for hiring me to work at Festival Records in a time that I really needed it. It is something I'll remember all my life. Take care, keep healthy, and happy birthday. You have a place in all our hearts. Bye, Ivan.
And I see, and I want to take this on myself, I see that Eve and Franz Moreau have signed in. I'll put you on the spot and see if you'll say something.
Sure. Am I on?
You are on.
Hey, sorry we couldn't join earlier. We were having dinner. Anyways, can you still see me?
Yes.
Yeah. Is John, I presume John is there listening to all of this, right?
No, John,
he's not?
No, he's going to get a recording of it.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Well, I'll try to be short, but I owe John Filcich a lot with a capital L. I think he was the first one to open the door for me. After Dennis Boxell, actually, whom I had met in Montreal and had brought me to Stockton Camp in '67 as his helper. And I met John Filcich at Stockton in '67, and that's when John gave me a formal invitation to teach at Colo that year. So it was really my first break as a solo teacher in California. It was really quite an experience for me, you know, at the Russian Center in San Francisco with a triple circle. It was about 250 people, you know, all these great dancers from Southern and Northern California, and the excitement was, you know, just too much. But it was the beginning, and because he invited me again, I even found I was cleaning my place a lot, like many of you in recent weeks, going through files, and I came across this
You could not find the 67
Yes, this is the 17th Kolo Festival, 1968. And the teachers were Gordon Engler, John Filcich, John Pappas, Atanas Kolarovsky, and myself. And the year after, this is the only other thing I want to show you, but this is something that John had prepared for me with the festival records mentioned at the bottom. My first California tour in 1968 or 69. This is me in my Shope costume. Looked like a young boy, and I was just about 20, 21 years old. And it said the tour went from Santa Cruz, Menlo Park, Berkeley, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, San Diego, Café Danza, Ruby's class at Hollywood, Compton, and Reseda, Zorba. Of course, I did the whole tour of the coffee houses. But thank you. I want to say thank you, John, for your help. You helped put out my early recordings on the Joro labels and shipped me these boxes all over the country. And really, I thank you, Fala Lepo Ivane, for everything. I wish you many, many more years of good health. And I'm glad you moved to some nice area there in Northern California.
And we want to be there with you for your 100th.
Oh yeah, we're really waiting to know where and when the 100 will be, because we're going to hop on a plane and be there. You're too important for us. So regards to all of the other, we flipped through who's on, and so many of our dear friends are there. So we kiss you, we hug you, and we know that since you're there, John meant a lot, means a lot to you, and you have these great stories to share. So thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
And
happy birthday.
thank you, Sherry. And
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You didn't say you slept on my floor in your first trip to LA.
Maybe, yes, it's true. I slept on many floors.
If I knew you were going to be so famous, I would have given you my bed. I would have slept on the floor.
Right. Anyways, those were fantastic years. I think we're all blessed to have been part of this whole scene, and especially in those golden magic years in the 60s and
absolutely
so on. So great. Thank you for reminding me of your floor, matey.
So happy birthday again, John.
Well, it's for his birthday.
For his birthday.
Well, it's for all kinds of things. For his move north, and for the birthday. So we're staying tuned. So we're looking forward to hearing more of you and watching what's going on. So we're here in Montreal. Okay. 3 hours later.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Franz.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, I lost. I'm still. Hi, Johnny. Now Johnny Pappas. I'm hesitant because I'm bouncing around this screen like mad. This is amazing process here.
Yasu Ivan. Paula's here too. Sini Yasu.
Yes.
Anna Komati for Yanni. We're gonna play a little piece for Yanni. Sure. Yes, Ivan. We had a lot of good times, John. I worked for you for a year when I was in college at the Festival Records in San Francisco. Had a good time. Paula met you when? 1957?
I was 13.
Stockton Camp. I met you in 58. I was 14. God bless you, man, and hope we see you soon. Yasas.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Ling, we found you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Billy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Actually, I started folk dancing as a student in Oregon State in the late 1950s. And at that time, it was also Israeli dances like Mai Mai, like Lamiva, and I learned Hambo and so on forth. But it wasn't until I went to school in Berkeley in the 1960s and later on in La Jolla that I began to change my passion to Balkan dancing. And John was responsible for this major change in which impacted my life for the last 60-some years. And primarily, I went to John's Kolo Festival in San Francisco almost every year in the early 60s. and learn dances from Imero and the Red Label album, and which becomes my passion for the last 60-some years, as well as Atanas and everybody, and you, John. So anyway, that's basically my story. And I would say it's kind of amazing after 60-some years, right now it's in 2020, then I had the honor to dance with John just a few months ago before we had the coronavirus at Café Aman and see him. And so that was just a momentum for people to be with him for all these years, 60-some years. And John, I wish you best of luck and health and enjoy your stay with your daughters and your grandchildren. And we look forward to hear from you. Okay, take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jim. And now, my friend of many, many years, Mr. Bozigian, sir.
Billy, how you doing?
All right.
A lot of friends. Papa, so I remember that melody, that style for me, produced. Wow. Well, my recollection is 1957 in Fresno, at the Memorial Auditorium in Fresno, where they used to have the annual folk dance festivals, and including statewide a couple of times. I was 57, and I was with my cousins. We were watching the international folk dancing for the first time. We saw it really first in 1956 when Tanitz came to Los Angeles, to Fresno. Tanitz and Colo, they both came to Fresno. So John was doing Veli Cocolo. He was leading it. I was absolutely amazed at his fantastic feet. He had fantastic feet and still has fantastic feet. So I know with those feet, the way they are now, he's going to go way into the hundreds. He's really, so that's what I remember, John. I remember that your girlfriend was Frances Ajoyan, and you used to teach some Armenian dances. And we just lost Frances Ajoyan at 92 years of age in Fresno. And she collected a lot of Armenian dances. So John, when you hear this, how you doing, buddy? Sve dobro vam, and hope we see you soon. Hello to everybody. I'm sure we're gonna talk to you in the chat. That's my story. Thank you.
Great, thank you guys. My friend, my Miller, you're unmuted.
I hope so. Can you hear me?
You are indeed.
Okay. Thank you so much, Billy, for shepherding us all through this. And it's a wonderful assemblage of people who are contributing. So I feel very privileged to be a part of it. Just a shorty, John and I met 50 years ago, actually, but not in any sort of meaningful way. John was producing records, as everyone has spoken of, so many of you have, and part of that was he would produce the recordings for the Aman Institute. I had just joined Aman and was kind of tossed into that, but it wasn't until a few years later, and primarily through a mutual friend, Dick Crum, whom I had gotten to know a little bit better. And it was clear from talking with Dick that he had the utmost respect for John, and John had the utmost respect for Dick. And consequently, I was quite sure that when John and I finally did have a chance to chat and talk, that we would really get along. And that has proven absolutely to be the case and been amplified over the years. And just wish we I had not quite waited so long to take advantage of his generosity, his friendship, because he truly is quite remarkable in a very understated way, as Paul alluded to with his sense of humor. And finally, Elsie Dunnan, whom it was great to see on screen there, was alluded to John being in Arizona. And I'll just share one quick story. John and I talked about this. John was in Arizona, and he wanted to learn Spanish. I think there were several girls he wanted to get to know, so he felt of Mexican heritage, so he felt Spanish was the way to go. And he had this gift with language, as you all know, with Greek, with certainly his native Serbo-Croatian and Roma. So Spanish was next on the list. And so he just went to movies. He just went to the movies and gradually learned the language and learned it well. But most of those movies were the sort of singing Mexican version of singing cowboy movies. So one day I played a particular song that I thought he might know from one of these movies, because I had played mariachi music for a few years. And I'd like to say that my wish for John is in the first line of this tune that he very much enjoyed. It's called Feria de las Flores, and where the person on horseback throws his voice into the wind, so the words will be carried a distance. And I think we've all benefited by John doing exactly that. And my wish for you, John, a tu salud, is many more years of the same. Lo mismo. A tu salud.
Okay, and I'm searching for John Morovich.
Am I on now?
You are indeed.
Well, I was digging through some. It's so nice to see everybody. I must say, almost all of you I've had played music for, or danced next to, or taught, or and especially John Filcich. I want to say give my greetings to John. John, I met in about 1981 or 2 at St. Anthony's. We were down playing for a picnic at St. Anthony's in Los Angeles. And I was like, wow, who's that guy dancing the kola? And we became fast friends when he heard my tambura band. But John had, even though I'm probably one of the younger people in this gathering today, I also have one of the longest connections, because John, when he started the Kola Festival, a group from Seattle, and it's right here from 1954, was the second Kola Festival, when a group of people from Seattle went down to the Kola Festival to learn how to dance Kola, because our families didn't really bring Kolos with them. We were part of Croatia where we didn't dance Kolos. We didn't have tambura. We have accordion, and we danced polkas and waltzes and danced mazurkas and things like that. So John, because of what John started at the Kola Festival, we have a long, long tradition of Kola dancing. And I just wanted to show, I don't know how many of you have seen this, John's book, also released in 1954. Look at the price of that, 50 cents. Mm-hmm. And here's one more. John, you'll probably like to see this. So this was all in the collection of Eleanor Corvus. And so I'm going to play what John calls the king of the kolos, for the king of the kolos. Veliko kolo, John, always za tebe. Živio.
Malo kolo ne zna niko, a veliko ni toliko. Malo kolo ne zna niko, a veliko ni toliko.
Thank you, John.
Živio prijatelju, vidimo se uskoro. Živjeli.
And we're going to go back. I got Mr. Fisher. We missed earlier, and now I found you, or you found me, and here you go.
Mute.
Yep.
You hear me?
Yep.
So this is a great, joyous occasion for the wonderful John Filcich. And what I want to talk about is how it is that he is the most revered guy for many generations of Roma, particularly in California, and how that came about. I first met John almost 60 years ago when, after being in Village Dancers, the predecessor of Aman and Westwind, I went to Berkeley. And so at the beginning of the 60s, he had his festival record shop in San Francisco, and I first met him. But he had moved there from Oakland, where he started his shop in about I'm going to turn my sound down, in about 1948 or 49. And his shop quickly became frequented by Roma in Northern California. And he was selling, Serbian, Croatian music, other things that some Roma were buying. And he quickly became friends with Roma. And there was a huge community encamped in Elk Grove, California, which is just south of Sacramento. And he was invited to events there, and he became accepted and liked by the community, and they were increasingly frequenting his store. He then, moved to San Francisco and had Festival Records, and then he moved to Los Angeles. But increasingly, he became the center for all Roma in the United States who had bands and were recording on cassettes or whatever, and he became the center for buying and selling within the Roma community these cassettes and the music. He became a historical figure who knew all of the musicians and the recording people that were in Los Angeles to New York and all over the country, from Singing Sam in New York to just everyone. And he became a part of the Roma community in Los Angeles and elsewhere. And I got to know him particularly in the beginning of the 1980s when, although I had done work as a lawyer or as a musician with the Romani community, I became particularly involved. And John and I, for 40 years, hung out at Roma weddings, at Pomane death feasts, and Domiele engagement parties, baptisms. He became the godfather to generations of Roma that I know, that I still work with. He was their godfather. He was their father's godfather, their grandfather's godfather. And I just saw somebody posted, Stolat, 100 years, to celebrate somebody's birthday. John should go far beyond the Sto or the lot, whatever the 100 is. He is revered and will be greatly missed at the events. He used to call me, I would call him to alert that there was a Roma community event, and we'd go together or we'd meet there, and he is remembered and revered amongst the Roma. So, Baksastimos, as the Roma would say. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all. So if there's anybody that would like to speak, I think if you unmute and speak, it'll automatically come to you, I trust. Let's see if that works.
Pauline, this is Pauline Cluck.
Yep, it worked.
I don't know if you can get me or not. I think I unmuted.
You're on.
We met John when we moved to California. We felt very alone. We had no car, not a good thing, not a good way to start. And we found John at some kind of event. He knew how to hold my mom's attention. He'd find out what you were. She was Serbian. He would play the prettiest songs, including Shetnya, the singing Shetnya, and she couldn't leave. She had to buy the record. then he'd play something Croatian. She was from Croatian part, and she couldn't leave without buying that record. She'd be real mad at him too. She couldn't afford all the buying. He really made people feel Yugoslavs who were from far away and had no relatives close feel like they were part of a community again. And it was very, very validating. It made her feel great. So John, Živjeli boy, Živjeli from Ed and Pauline.
Great, good to see you. Miss you at the Tamburica extravaganza that we didn't have this year. Diane Baker, you're on.
Okay, this is the more recent, 2017. You know, everybody knows John dances Veliko, but he's also a great waltzer. And at local events, I ask him to waltz, and he always says, oh, so-and-so already asked me, so-and-so already asked me. You have to ask sooner next time. So at Stockton, in the auction, they had a waltz. I bid $500 on the waltz with John. And John got together with Myaman to figure out the tunes. So we were going to waltz for a minute, and then everybody else joined in. John and I started waltzing, and in 30 seconds time, Stephanie cut in. So Stephanie got the waltz with John. I'm going to go to Arcada, however you say it, and collect my waltz one of these days.
Yeah, there we are. So John, as the old joke goes, we were there, but you weren't. Now you're there, but we're not. You may have heard we've moved to southern Arizona. We're in Sierra Vista. But we get to dance with you again in Arcata when we visit, coronavirus allowing.
We spent many times in John's visit when he came to Arcata, and so, you know, we love him. We've known him since the Aman days in Southern California. Then we moved to Arcata. Some people don't know he worked at the barrel factory in Arcata, so he's kind of going home again after his younger days before he was in San Francisco and other places. But we love you, John.
Thanks very much, John.
Oh, and it's so wonderful to see people like Anthony Ivancic, who played at our wedding. Can't believe it.
I met John in the mid-'60s when I was at UC Berkeley at a Colo Festival in San Francisco. And over all the decades that I've been folk dancing, I've always seen John and danced with John. But one of my favorite memories is of a Laguna folk dance festival where I had set up a booth to sell all of my Bulgarian records, costumes, paintings, carvings, dishes, everything. And over those 2 days, I sold almost $3,000 worth of my collections. And at the end of Sunday's performance and the dancing, John came over to my booth and he said, "Damn you, you sold more than I did. I was watching all the people around your booth and I was pissed." Anyway, also, I inherited all of the record collection of the West Valley Folk Dancers through the son of the fellow who ran that group. Big metal cases and record cases filled my office here in Costa Mesa. And I called John and I asked him if he would like these records. And he did. He came down to our house. He loaded up all of those metal boxes of records into his van and took off. But before he left, he told me he had a special storage unit where he kept all of his collections of records over the years. So he was really dedicated to music and folk dancing. And John, na zdrave od Sveta Nedeva.
Could I play a little something? Would that be all right?
Sure, Donna, I'm going to get you next.
And I'd like to say something at some point.
Okay. I'll just play something short if that's all right, of one of John's favorites.
I want to say Mazel Tov to John on his birthday. He's a wonderful friend to so many of us. I first met him when I had collected my 50 cents an hour babysitting money, of which I had saved up about $40 or $50. And my uncle Lou Sapiro, who is a very good friend of John Filcich in LA, said if I could get myself to LA, he would take me to this place called Festival Records, and I could buy all my Israeli dance music so I could teach without a reel-to-reel or these little tiny cassette things that I was trying to make work back in the day. And I was all of 14 and a half, and I spent all my babysitting money on records. And then my uncle loaned me some more because I kept finding more and more Israeli dance records that I really, really wanted. And I was able to pay him back with my fortune being paid $10 an hour. Back then, that was huge to teach Israeli dancing several different places. But I also wanted to say that many, many years later, and of course I went to Kolo festivals, and John used to tell me, you know, he would tell me that the year I was born was the first year he had a Kolo festival, which was correct, 1952. And he went on one of my dance cruises. I teach dancing on cruise ships, or did before this pandemic, did 38 dance cruises. Anyway, he went on one of them. He signed up to go, and I found him a roommate, and everything was just fine, or a cabin mate. But I had to tell John I didn't think there was anything I could teach him. He knew more dances than anybody I knew. And, you know, he's certainly welcome to come, but there was nothing I had to teach him. And he says, oh, yes, there is. I want to learn a tango. And so he had private tango lessons from me. And he was, of course, the fastest learner you ever could believe, because he could do fans and all kinds of fancy steps, but he assured me he had never taken proper tango lessons. So he's not only a wonderful friend and such a dear, sweet person, but he has challenged himself to always learn new things, new languages, new dances, new styles, and that's what keeps him so young. So thank you for letting me speak.
Well, I've known John from like the 60s or so, when I started getting involved in folk dancing, and I just value him so much, so much, so much. And it's also wonderful to see all of you, because many of you I've seen when I used to go to the folk dance things in the past. So just wonderful greetings to everybody. Love you all. That's it.
Billy, thank you for doing this, and everybody for organizing it. It's just wonderful. I wanted to just reflect on something that happened. My wife and I were interested in Balkan music, and John knew our taste, and I was interested in small instrumental groups, and my wife was interested in women singing groups. So he would call us to come down when he'd get the boxes in, and we would come down and go through the boxes in the back, and then we'd have lunch. So we got down there, and he wasn't in the shop. And we were told that the day before, there had been a robbery in the shop. And John apparently gave some money to the robber. But after the robber had gone, John ran out after the robber to get him. And I thought, man, is that John or what? So John, I remember that. And I remember all of the great music. You know, this is before YouTube and Facebook and all that other stuff. That was our source for really good music, the Balkan tones. So John, I still am very grateful to you for all of that. And I hope you have a happy birthday. And I gotta say something, Barry, this was on Barry. At UOP Folk Dance Camp, one year, John invited me and another guy, Jerry Helt, to go over to the house, the King of the Gypsies. That's what John described it as. That's when it was called Gypsies instead of Roma. So I thought, oh yeah, you bet. So we went over. It's the real thing. And we were having leftovers from a big wedding in the afternoon. It was real late at night. And John invited several of the Roma community to come back over to the folk dance camp. And it was like after 12 o'clock. And so Steve Kotansky and Erjman Kilic heard about this. And all of a sudden, there was this cutting contest of these dancers. And all of a sudden, I found out, this is really folk dance. Those guys were going nuts. It was a cutting contest. It was just wonderful. I'll never forget that. And John made that happen. And it brought a certain authenticity to the entire event. And John, I'm very grateful for all those special moments. Happy birthday. Thanks, Billy.
There I am. No, I just found out something about John late last year, that he was one of the people that initially spread around the interest in the German Sweefhacher.
Yeah.
And when he found out that I was interested in it, he showed up and gave me all his notes, and I really appreciated that.
What a rare book.
Yeah, and of course I have all the horror stuff he ever did, so he's a great guy.
I'm actually saying this on behalf of somebody else who's not here, to John, because I'm pretty sure that if Bill Cope wasn't so dedicated to keeping the music alive and hosting music things all afternoon on Saturday, he would be in this session. And all of you know that he took over the mantle when it came to the Colo Festival. And I remember Bill once saying to me something like, I'm not going to let that die, not on my watch. So obviously, since Bill's not here and he's not here to write anything in the chat, I just wanted to say on behalf of Bill, I'm taking that like whatever, that I'm sure he would wish you all of the best and thank you for all that you did that he was able to continue on with. Thanks.
And anybody, I just want to say before we get out that really Sherry, Lori, Marge Gaitsky, Matt Mady, they're the pilots of the engineers and the workers of this thing. They just contacted me last week and said, gee, would you do it? I'm delighted, but they deserve all the praise. They are responsible for this being, I think, the great success it is. I'm very pleased with it. Any other speakers? Round of applause. Everybody's muted, but I see you clapping. Everybody's clapping.
Billy?
Yes.
Jerry said that we can stay even when we finish. If people want to stay and chat with each other, that's available to all of us or anybody who wants to stay.
And again, if anybody comes across anything they'd like to include into, I hope, a project I'll do at some point as a DVD honoring John. This is going to be recorded, so I can use some of the things from this. We're not going to sell it or anything, with permission, and put together some nice pictures and some of the music I know he likes. So you send it to W Burke, that is wburke.dance@gmail.com, and I'll compile what I can, and we'll see what we produce someday.
I want to say one more thing. Café Aman we filled a vacuum in Los Angeles. For many years, there was kind of going downhill, or nothing was going on. But once a month, second Saturday of the month for almost 18 years, until March, this last March, on a rainy night, the 15th of March, I went over to the studio to put notices on the door. That we wouldn't be able to meet. So Sherry has been keeping Friday nights alive, dancing in our little spaces. And so many other people have been doing this all across the country. And of course, we're not holding hands and hugging and talking in person. But somehow we've managed to bring people together from many places. And we're getting to know each other because we're talking to each other. And when we're folk dancing, we don't really have time. So we have to be grateful that we have folk dancing, that John gave us the music. Because without the music, we wouldn't have had anything. So, I mean, this is extemporaneous. And Billy, I'm glad that was my idea to have you. So I'm going to pat myself on the back because you did a great job.
We had over 100 people.
Great. But
four screens of 25 each. Plus
one
people.
more thing about this. Isn't it nice that John is going to be able to hear all of this? all of the love that we have for him, he's going to be able to hear it. And I'm thinking maybe we should do this a little more often for our friends. And just, you guys, thank you so much for coming.
Again,
Hi, Mark. Thank
all
you
the clapping
all
hands.
for being here, for sharing from your hearts. And the love goes a long way. And I talk too much.
So Sherry, I guess we've done it.
Billy?
Yes.
How about a group Salyanchica, everybody all together, and end this with a big bang?
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody up. Givio John.
Givio John. Okay, everybody, I'm saying goodbye. I'm checking out. The chat will evidently be on. If you'd like to chat, if you'd like to send me something, please do. Delighted to see all of you. And have a wonderful time. I'll be dancing again in October sometime. I'm getting a new knee September 25th.
Way to go.
I'm starting to run out of body parts to replace, but we'll get them all done. I still got one hip I haven't done, so. Yeah.
And then you have to come and dance with us on Friday.
There you go.
Good luck, Billy, and let me know how you do because I need to have my knee replaced too.
Who's talking? Sharon?
Sharon, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Knees. I can't lie. Knees are a bear. I had it done twice on my left knee, and now once on my right. And the joys of maturing. See you all later. Goodbye, 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 and thank you again.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Billy. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye now.
Okay, so we'll open it up to chat.
Hi. That Joyce?
Hi, John. Nice to see you.
Hello. John Moravich, how about announcing your Sunday night programs?
I'm not sure if it's going to happen tomorrow, but because I've been working 7 days a week. So sometimes, most of the time I'm on Sunday nights. I got to do a really fun show for Café Aman. I don't know, that was a couple months ago, right, already?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, usually on Sunday nights, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen tomorrow because I'm doing a catering for one of the sports teams that's in town. So I need to feed a bunch of baseball players tomorrow about that time. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but if not this week, turn in next week, Seattle, 6:30 Seattle time.
So John, the last time I called Ivan, you were playing in the background. He was listening to you. It must have been a Sunday. It must have been a Sunday. Good night.
Yeah, all you have to do is just pop into my Facebook page. You don't even have to be a Facebook person.
Oh, cool.
Nice to see you, Valerie.
Good to see you. Well, wonderful to listen to you play too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lady.
Yes.
Thank you for organizing this and contacting me.
Of course.
This was a delight.
Of course, I chose all the people on the list too. I wouldn't have said anything. I wouldn't have said it if it wasn't so great.
Elsie, it's great to see you.
It is, Elsie.
Hi, Elsie.
Nice to see you, Elsie.
Lady, you made us all cry.
I know, isn't it? I never cry anymore. I don't go to any movies. What the heck?
Movies that I like, you don't cry in.
Who said that?
Me.
Nancy.
Oh, it's good to see everybody.
Thank you, Mady, for helping to put this together. That was wonderful.
We want John to see it and to enjoy it, and this way he can see it, savor it, watch little pieces of it. It's good to see Jill and Jay. Hi. Good to see all of you. It's just.
Hi. It's great to see everybody. Hello, everybody. Great to see you all. Jim.
Hi, Frank and
Sharon. Johnny Pappas. Where is
Ethan France, I loved your little piece of history.
Johnny.
Hi, Gerda.
Your story was so nice. So
I have so many more, but I didn't want to, monitor keep all that time. There's so many of you there, but yeah, so many great memories.
More, share more.
Yeah.
Dean.
Dean and Patty, you did so great when you were teaching last week. I was so proud of you.
We're leaving now.
Good night.
Nancy.
Good night.
Night.
What were your what's the so far? Los Angeles.
There they are.
John Filcich for his 80th birthday. He was one of the people that decided it was a national living treasure for Los Angeles. A big party for him at the Getty Museum, and lots of people were there, live music and dancing and celebration and food. It was a marvelous thing. I kept saying, boy, the guy's 80 years old, one can dance in front of him. And then 10 years later, he had his 90th birthday. I said, guy, I had 90, look at him dancing like a 30-year-old. Then his 95th. However, I've had my 90th birthday. 90 doesn't seem so old anymore. So John, 90, 95, 100, keep going.
Yes.
Thank you for all the events for us in Los Angeles, for the wonderful time you've given to all of us. And we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas. Have a great time there.
They were on board to do in '96, which the pandemic left us without. But we did 90 and 95.
Right.
You were both there, and so were you, Asako. Both 90.
And we sing happy birthday in Polish, right?
His birthday is in June.
Right.
But yeah, great times.
Well, remember that. We want to be there for the 100.
Okay. We're scouting locations already.
Have you thought about the Rose Bowl? That would probably be about the only thing taken up for all of us.
So many of you. Bye-bye.
She's just got a really,
I'm in the sign off. I have no air conditioning, so I'm a little hot. Nice seeing everyone. It was a wonderful festival in March, my last outing too. So keep dancing. Obviously, it's good for our health. John at 96, definitely. So bye, everyone. Keep dancing.
Yeah, we were lucky. We saw many of you in March.
At Laguna. That was really the last big dance event. And then from there, it was like over. It was, wow, how lucky we were to be there.
I know.
We were having dinner together at the NFO event, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there were
it was like
some
a big reunion for us because we hadn't been to Southern California in quite some time. So we knew we would see many of you there, and it was great, both at the festival and the NFO conference, seeing Elsie, Tony Shea. I mean, so many people, Marty Koenig. I mean, it was like a big reunion.
Yeah. That was the last time we all danced together, I think.
I think so.
Just days before the lockdown.
Right under the wire. Right under the wire.
And there were a few people who didn't come because of it. We were all kind of wondering, oh my God, what is this? But right after that, it was Hayasako.
I mean, good job, you guys. That was a lot of work, and I couldn't really help.
Sherry and Lori, I just don't know how they did it. And everybody who sent pictures in, and it's heartwarming.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Well,
Bye.
Bye, Elsie. Are you leaving?
Bye,
Elsie. Great.
It's so good to see you, Elsie.
Take care.
Yeah.
Love you.
Say Naliepche.
It's hard to leave. You know, I mean, where else are we going on a Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
This is date night, you guys.
I think they should do this more often. I mean, I'm out in Utah. I think I was out there for Uncle John's 95th. And it's such a wonderful community that you have out there. I wish I lived, no, I don't wish I lived in LA. But, you know, it would be so nice to come out there and dance at Café Aman. And now that Uncle John's up north, it's like, darn, I'm not going to get that chance anymore unless he goes back down south and I can fly out there and come visit.
Well, he used to go up north a lot, so maybe he'll come down south a lot.
Yeah, maybe.
To ride with him.
Oh, I'm driving now, so.
Well, you can drive and then you can dance.
There we go.
You drive him down.
He doesn't like the way I drive.
You drive forward instead of backward, right?
Exactly. I didn't drive like a snail either.
Anyway, well, we'll discuss this and maybe we'll figure out a way that we can do it again. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Valerie.
Hi,
Sacco.
Oh, Barbara.
Barbara, we left. How to use this Croatia.
What was that?
It was almost a year since we were in Croatia.
Yes. Be sure to take your medicine, girls.
Oh, yeah. I remember. You're doing okay. Good.
Do you mean Schlevo? Are you talking about Schlevovitz when you said take your medicine?
Rock in the morning. He waited until 9 o'clock.
There's some mama.
Drink enough Schlevo, you'll never get sick.
That's right.
Anyway, I have to say good night. So thank you so much for doing this. And it was wonderful to see everybody.
Sharon, maybe, how far away do you live from John?
I live in St. George, Utah. So I'm in southern Utah. I'm like 2 hours from Vegas. So I have to fly to probably Oregon and then drive down.
Well, maybe you'll talk to him and tell him that we all love him and that we want him to see this and to enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it.
I will tell him that we'll have a family Zoom conference pretty soon, and I'll make sure I tell him that.
Okay, great.
All right, take care, everybody.
Karen, thank you. Karen,
They're going to sign
wanted
off.
to say hi.
We're going to say goodbye, everyone. We're on the, don't forget, we're on East Coast time. We're 3 hours later.
Thank you for coming. Oh my gosh, what a joy. What a joy you always
Yeah,
are.
it was a wonderful idea to do that. When I got that email from Lady and Sherry, and I said, wow, we got to be there for that. And
Oh,
I'm
great.
glad you were there. So keep us on your mailing list, even though we're not as close, you know, we can't join you for anything
Birthday
locally.
people all over the dance.
We're there in spirit.
Gosh, it's good to see you.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I see Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Not right now.
Let's join in.
Oh, I had to switch computers.
Anyways, we'll say hello and goodbye because we got to sign off. But it's so great to see you all. Johnny, everybody, Valerie, Astako, I mean, all of you there. Thank you.
Say hi to your daughter for me.
Which one?
I think he was the oldest one. Who was going
Okay,
to
yeah.
together?
The one I met when I came with Yanni Constantino once after World Camp about 10 years ago.
Okay,
Or more.
that's probably
He was getting ready to go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, goodbye, everyone. Bye, Kathy. And everyone else. And we'll connect again, I'm sure. Bye. Good night. Laku noc.
Laku noc.
Bless you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you, Mady. Thank you for doing this.
You're so welcome. It was such a pleasure. John Pappas, finally we meet. John. Kalispera sas. Tikani.
There he is.
Apa puiste, Yanni? Timeros.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hello. Nenome Stilada Efta Chronia.
Efta Chronia, po, bravo.
Prim Ikosi Chronia.
Ah, bravo. Nika, bravo.
Kamya Lexis Mono. But it's nice to meet you. I've been hearing about you for years and years. It was great that you decided to come or that you wouldn't miss it, I know.
We thank you for doing this for Ivan. Thank you.
I hope he enjoys it. And hope to see you again in person when we can all dance together.
I'll unmute so other people can have a chance.
So great to see so many faces, so many wonderful faces like, you know, Jill and Jay Michtam. It was wonderful. Everybody there just to say happy birthday to John. I think it's wonderful.
You guys know it wasn't his birthday recently.
No, but anyway.
That's, yeah. And we didn't get to have it, you know, we had planned
That's right.
to have
So
it.
this is it.
Oh, well, next year.
Right.
Valerie, you were supposed to tell us that your birthday's on the same day. You forgot to tell us.
No, she told us.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
But you know,
Okay.
I had given him his 90th. Maybe it was his 90th when he always celebrated around July 4th. And I said, just exactly when is your birthday? That's how we found out.
That's great.
Amazing. And we've celebrated every year since.
Margie has really good ideas.
Yes. Thank you, Marge.
Oh, she had the idea for John Moravich too, and you know that video is still going viral, 9,900 views. Can you believe that? Yeah, it's still going up. I'm waiting for it to go to 10,000. That's outrageous. Anyway.
So I'm getting
Will I get Wi-Fi? I don't want to end it.
Okay, guys, should we call it a night or what?
Yes, and you get
Great.
nice rest.
Nice to see you. Laura, are you going to be able to sleep? It's pretty exciting. I mean, the job well done. Everybody did what they needed to do.
Oh, I'm signing out. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Who said night?
Great seeing you. Good night, good night. Yasa.
Good night.
Kali's better. I know he's probably cracking up and my Greek sucks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Sherry. Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, Sherry.
See you soon, kiddo.
Zasiri.